Welcome to our deep dive today. We're exploring some fascinating challenges the Baha'i faith community faces as it works towards the incredible vision laid out in the 9-year plan. We'll be pulling from an article called The Path to Fulfillment, Overcoming Challenges and Rising to the Universal House of Justice's Vision. And oh my gosh, there's some really thought-provoking stuff here.
Definitely.
We're going to be talking about generational gaps, how technology plays a role in faith these days, and even dive into the power of forgiveness. I can't wait to unpack all of this.
It's really inspiring to see how this plan not only aims to achieve global transformation, but also calls for deep introspection. It's like, you have to clear the path before you can really start the journey.
That's a great way to put it. I know our listeners are familiar with the Baha'i faith, but maybe we could refresh the core principles just to ground our conversation. What's at the heart of this 9-year plan?
The Baha'i faith is all about unity, justice, and a vision for global transformation. It sees humanity as one family, working towards a peaceful future. And this 9-year plan, launched by the Universal House of Justice, it's a call to action for Baha'is worldwide. It encourages them to step up, make sacrifices, build strong communities, and share Baha'u'llah's message.
That sounds incredibly ambitious.
Yeah.
So where do these challenges come in? What are some of the obstacles they're facing?
So the article highlights this interesting paradox. The tools for success are out there, especially with technology, but internal challenges are holding things back. It's almost like having all the pieces for a puzzle, but struggling to put them together.
I see what you mean. It's one thing to have the tools, but using them effectively is a whole other story. So let's get into those internal challenges. What's the first one that jumps out from the article?
Well, the first challenge the article delves into is in-group thinking, which is that human tendency to favor your own group and maybe resist ideas from others. And it's playing out within the Baha'i community, particularly between generations.
Generational divides. We see this everywhere these days. How is it specifically affecting the Baha'i community?
The article points to a tension between how different generations approach spreading their faith. So older members who have years of experience might be more attached to traditional methods, while younger members are pushing for newer approaches like social media outreach. You can see how that can create some friction.
Absolutely. It's like speaking different languages, even though you're part of the same community. Does the article give a specific example of this clash?
Yes. It talks about a local Baha'i event where the older members resisted using digital presentations. They might have seen it as impersonal, a break from tradition, but it ended up alienating some of the younger members. Younger members see technology as vital for connecting with people today. They felt like their voices weren't being heard, which discouraged them from participating.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a good reminder that even with the best intentions, sometimes our actions can have unintended consequences. What does the article suggest as a way to bridge this generational gap?
Well, Bahá'u'lláh emphasized unity and diversity. He beautifully described humanity as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. And the article suggests some practical steps to put this principle into action. Open and honest dialogue between generations is crucial, creating spaces where both older and younger members can share their concerns and perspectives, learn from each other, and recognize the value that each generation brings.
That's a great starting point. It's all about communication and understanding. What else do they suggest?
They also talk about creating more bilingual or multicultural gatherings that could help to bridge those linguistic and cultural gaps, fostering a greater sense of inclusion and understanding. The Baha'i faith is a global faith, so celebrating that diversity is key.
That's a fantastic point. It's about celebrating those differences, not letting them become barriers. Is there a third suggestion?
The article also highlights the need for mentorship programs, where experienced Baha'is can guide younger members. But it emphasizes that it should be a two-way street. The older generation can learn from the younger generation's tech savviness and vice versa. It creates a win-win for everyone involved.
I see. So it's about creating an environment where everyone feels heard, valued, and empowered to contribute. This reminds me of another concept that the article discusses, dogmatism. It feels especially relevant in our current world. What are the dangers of dogmatism, especially within a faith community?
Dogmatism is essentially rigid thinking, clinging to one specific viewpoint. And the article highlights that it can stifle progress. Think about a time when the Baha'i community might have missed an opportunity because of rigid thinking. Maybe it was a reluctance to adopt a new technology, or hesitation to connect with a new population group. How did that impact the community's growth?
That's such a thought-provoking question. You're right. Sometimes holding on too tightly to our own perspectives can limit our ability to see the bigger picture. and adapt to the changing world around us. The article mentions social media specifically. What's the point there?
Some in the community might dismiss social media entirely, seeing it as superficial, and ignoring its potential as a tool for sharing Baha'u'llah's teachings with a huge global audience. Or they might cling to outdated methods, even when there's evidence that new approaches could be more effective. Think about podcasts, YouTube channels, or virtual firesides, all innovative ways to connect with people. But they might face resistance from those who are stuck in their ways.
That's a valid point. Tradition and innovation don't have to be at odds with each other. There's a balance to be found, right?
Absolutely. And this brings us back to that idea of adaptability, which Baha'u'lláh himself emphasized. He said, "The civilization, so often vaunted by the learned exponents of arts and sciences, will, if allowed to overleap the bounds of moderation, bring great evil upon men." We need to be mindful of clinging too tightly to any one approach. Even if it's rooted in tradition, the world is constantly evolving.
So what does the article suggest as practical ways the Baha'i community can embrace adaptability?
Well, one idea is to hold workshops exploring the ethical use of social media for spreading the faith. This could address concerns about superficiality and demonstrate how these platforms can align with Baha'i principles. Another suggestion is encouraging the community to adopt modern communication tools, like supporting the creation of podcasts, YouTube channels, or online forums, to explore Baha'i principles and connect with others.
It makes sense to meet people where they are. So many people engage online these days. So bringing the message to those platforms seems vital.
Exactly. And the last point the article emphasizes is the importance of collaboration, especially with tech-savvy Baha'is who can help develop content that resonates with a wider audience.
It sounds like it's about striking that balance, honoring tradition while embracing innovation, respecting different viewpoints while staying true to the core principles of the faith.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's not always easy, but it's essential for growth and vibrancy, especially in a world that's constantly changing.
This has been such a rich conversation already, and we've only just begun. We've talked about in-group thinking, generational divides, and the dangers of dogmatism within the Baha'i community. When we come back, we'll delve into the transformative power of forgiveness and how it can heal divisions both within the Baha'i community and in the wider world. Stay with us.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Baha'i Faith's 9-year plan. It's really inspiring to see how this plan, it not only lays out a path for global change, but also encourages the community to look inward.
Exactly. We've already covered some pretty complex issues: bridging generational divides, embracing technology, and overcoming those limitations of rigid thinking. All critical for the Baha'i community to move forward as one. What's next on the list?
Well, this next challenge might be one of the most important: forgiveness. And it feels incredibly relevant in today's world. You know, where judgment and criticism seem to be everywhere you look? The article argues that judgmental attitudes within the Baha'i community, they can be a roadblock to unity and full participation. It's almost like holding on to grudges or focusing on someone's past instead of seeing their potential for growth.
It's definitely something we all struggle with, that tendency to judge based on past actions, rather than who someone is now. Does the article give us a specific example of how this dynamic plays out within the community?
It does. Imagine a situation where someone is hesitant to let a fellow Baha'i take on a leadership role because of a mistake they made years ago. That judgment, even if it comes from a good place, disregards their potential to contribute in a meaningful way. It's a missed opportunity to show the transformative power of the Baha'i teachings.
That's a powerful point. It makes me think of those historical figures who were able to move past their mistakes and end up leading incredible lives.
You're right. The article highlights figures like Mary Magdalene in Christianity, who went from a life some considered scandalous to a devoted follower of Christ and a key figure in spreading his teachings. Or within the Baha'i faith itself, there's Ahiri. She faced intense criticism for her progressive views on the role of women, but Baha'u'lláh championed her courage, showing us that our true potential, it goes beyond our perceived flaws. No one is beyond redemption. It's a message of hope and a call for a more compassionate approach within the community.
These examples are so inspiring. So how do we shift away from judgment and create a real culture of forgiveness within the Baha'i community? What does the article recommend?
It all begins with understanding Baha'u'llah's teachings on mercy and the possibility of change. He was actually pretty firm in his warnings against hypocrisy and judgment. In the hidden words, he wrote, "He who is unaware of his own faults and yet busy with the faults of others is disgraced in my sight," unquote. The article emphasizes the importance of having open conversations about these teachings within the community, so everyone's on the same page.
It's such a powerful reminder that we're all works in progress. We're all learning and growing, and none of us have it all figured out. So what are some tangible steps this community can take to cultivate this culture of forgiveness?
One crucial step is creating opportunities for people who may have stumbled in the past to contribute their talents and share their perspectives. Maybe it's inviting them to share their stories, join community projects, or even take on leadership roles. It shows that change is possible and everyone has something to offer.
That makes a lot of sense. Creating that space where people feel safe to acknowledge their past and move forward is much more powerful than pretending it never happened.
You've got it. It's about creating a community that reflects the Baha'i principle of progressive revelation. That idea that we're all constantly learning and evolving, and our understanding of truth deepens over time.
This concept of forgiveness is so powerful and applies to so much more than just the Baha'i community. It's something we could all benefit from, both personally and as a society. The next challenge the article explores is equally relevant, especially in our interconnected world: sacrificial action. What's the main point here?
The article highlights this interesting tension that exists between taking care of the immediate needs of the Baha'i community and actively working toward the global mission of sharing Baha'u'llah's message with all of humanity. It notes that many Baha'is might focus on activities within their local communities, but not prioritize that global aspect. The amazing thing is, in this day and age, we have all the tools we need to connect across borders and share information instantly. Yet some might still hesitate to use them.
It's about finding that balance between nurturing the community you're in and looking outward, recognizing that we're all part of one human family.
You're exactly right. The article drives home this point. In today's world, there really are no excuses for not taking full advantage of technology to spread the message of the Baha'i faith far and wide.
We've got to turn outward, not just inward. Does the article give us a specific example of how this tension plays out?
Imagine a local Baha'i community that spends months meticulously planning events for their own members, but doesn't really tap into the power of social media or online platforms to reach a broader audience. That inward focus, it can limit their reach and their ability to connect with those who might be searching for something the Baha'i faith offers.
That's a great example. So how can the Baha'i community strike that balance? How do they ensure they're both nurturing their own and reaching out to the world?
The article points to the guidance of the Universal House of Justice, which has stressed the need for an outward-looking approach. Baha'is are encouraged to see everyone in the world as their potential audience. It's a bold vision.
I love that. But putting that into practice can't be easy. What are some concrete steps the community can take?
One suggestion is to really harness the power of online events. Virtual firesides, for example, allow people from all over the world to connect and share their experiences with the Baha'i teachings. It's an amazing way to build bridges and create a sense of global community, regardless of physical location.
That's so true. I've joined a few virtual events myself, and it's incredible to connect with like-minded people from all walks of life. It really does break down geographical barriers. What are some other ideas?
The article also suggests collaborating with people within the community who have specific skills: graphic designers, content creators, those who are good at making videos. All of these individuals can help create high-quality materials that can be easily shared online. Imagine the impact of a well-made video explaining Baha'i principles, or a beautifully designed infographic sharing a quote from Bahá'u'lláh.
It's about tapping into the power of storytelling and using visuals to make the message engaging and accessible for a global audience.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about the power of social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. These are great ways to share personal stories, prayers, explain Baha'i principles, or even share Baha'i music and art.
It's all about meeting people where they are and using the language they understand. So to recap, the key to overcoming this challenge is to shift from an inward to an outward focus, embracing the power of technology to connect with the world and share the message of unity and justice. That's at the heart of the Baha'i faith.
Well said. It's about understanding that building a better world. It starts with both individual change and collective action.
We've covered some really important points, but there's one more challenge to explore when we come back. We'll dive into the idea of leading by example, the dangers of judging based on appearances, and how true unity within the Baha'i community can inspire that same unity in the wider world. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our deep dive into the challenges and opportunities outlined in the Baha'i Faith's 9-year plan. It's been an incredible journey so far, exploring these crucial themes of unity, adaptability, and forgiveness, all vital for the Baha'i community to progress and fulfill its global vision.
It's remarkable how this plan encourages both individual and collective transformation, reminding us that true change begins within.
You're absolutely right. We've covered some pretty heavy topics: generational divides, the role of technology and faith, and the importance of forgiveness. But there's one final challenge from the article I want to touch on. It emphasizes the importance of leading by example and cautions against those superficial judgments that can creep into our interactions, hindering true unity.
That's such a human tendency, isn't it? We often judge based on first impressions or outward appearances, rather than taking the time to truly see and appreciate the qualities that lie beneath the surface.
I think we're all guilty of that at times. The article gives an example of dismissing someone's contributions just because they might not be a skilled public speaker. Maybe they lack polish or eloquence, but they have a deep understanding of the faith and a genuine desire to serve.
It's a reminder that true spiritual magnetism, that inner light that draws people in, it comes from sincerity, devotion, and a genuine connection to the divine, not necessarily from being a charismatic speaker.
This makes me think about the apostles of Christ. The article draws this as an interesting parallel. These were often simple men, some even believed to be illiterate. Yet their unwavering faith and commitment allowed them to spread a message that changed the course of history.
Their power came from the depth of their belief and their willingness to serve, not from their ability to craft eloquent speeches. It's an important lesson for us all.
Absolutely. So, how do we cultivate a deeper understanding and appreciation for one another? Within the Baha'i community, how do we move beyond those snap judgments and embrace the beauty of our diverse strengths and talents?
Well, Baha'u'lláh himself emphasized humility and the importance of letting actions speak louder than words. He said, "Let your acts be a guide unto all mankind, for the professions of most men, be they high or low, differ from their conduct." And the article suggests some practical ways to build unity by embodying this principle.
I'm all ears. Practical steps are always welcome. What are some of those suggestions?
The first step is to consciously recognize and celebrate the contributions of every member of the community. Regardless of their background, abilities, or social standing, it's about creating a space where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued for the unique gifts they bring.
That sense of belonging is so important. What else can be done?
Another suggestion is to create platforms for diverse voices. This could mean encouraging individuals from different backgrounds, ages, and cultures to share their perspectives through talks, workshops, artistic expressions, or even community service projects. Think of it as weaving a beautiful tapestry of experiences that enriches the entire community.
I love that image of a tapestry. It's such a powerful representation of unity and diversity. What's the final practical step the article highlights?
The article emphasizes encouraging acts of service as the true measure of devotion. It's not about outward appearances or fancy words, but about putting faith into action by serving others and contributing to the betterment of the community and the world at large. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
It's about embodying that spirit of unity and love that Baha'u'lláh envisioned, right? Those selfless acts of service speak volumes.
Exactly. And when the Baha'i community commits to this kind of unity, it becomes a shining example for the rest of the world. It demonstrates that people from all walks of life can come together, bridge differences, and work towards a common goal. It's a beacon of hope in a world that desperately needs it.
What a powerful message. We've explored these internal challenges the Baha'i faith faces as it works to fulfill the vision of its 9-year plan, from embracing technology and bridging generational divides to fostering forgiveness and leading by example. It's clear that the path to true unity requires both individual and collective transformation.
This deep dive has highlighted so many crucial elements. The Baha'i faith's commitment to unity and justice, its focus on inner transformation, alongside outward action. It all offers a model for creating a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging and purpose. The 9-year plan isn't just a roadmap for the Baha'i community. It's an invitation for all of us to reflect on how we can contribute to a more peaceful and just world.
That's such a beautiful way to frame it. So to our listener, as we wrap up this deep dive, we leave you with this final thought. How can you use your unique talents and the resources available today to contribute to a more unified world? What small act of service, no matter how small it may seem, can you offer to your community or to the world? Remember, every act of kindness, compassion, and understanding has a ripple effect.
Let your actions be your guide, and may your heart be filled with hope as you embark on this journey of building a better world for all world.